Can you hear me now?
Yes, now we can, yeah.
Okay, so I'm Maris. I'm a graduate from BFM and I'm supposed to guide here this conversation between Martrau and our dear filmmakers who are behind these architecture films. And we start with Mart, and he will tell shortly about the task that was given to students. Yeah, please, Mart.
Okay, yes. No, so this, again, this cooperation between film students and architecture, Union of Architects actually has started in 2012 when Ella and Lottman made plans with BA students then to work and together with the Union of Architects and then to highlight the projects that have been chosen as like the best new projects of that year. And we picked it up in 2016 with our international MA students, Kinois, who are, from all over the world. They come here for the second semester in January. And it's cinematographers, editors, and sound designers. And we thought it's a very nice opportunity for them to explore first Estonia and also to develop their own identities and their collaboration in their own fields and make this kind of very interesting views on local architecture, I would say. So the main thing was to, again, basically to get the feeling of the buildings. So we had these kind of seminars about together with architects who discussed, what are the ground rules of our architecture, and then we visited all different locations and locales. And it was up to them then to choose what kind of buildings they would choose, make the films on. So they had a bit of freedom also, but our goal was also always to have this kind of more non-narrative films, but more about the piece, about the place. So that's now was our third time with the Kinois, with the MA students to make those films. And we made them now in, oh my God, it's 2018, yes, correct? Oh my God. So sorry, 1 year and a half ago. Yes, so basically, and yes.
2019, no?
Was it 2018? Yes, in this. No, yeah, spring, yeah. So now here they are. Oh. Oh. No, here.
You can't hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Did you feel some responsibility in front of architects? I mean the Union of Architects, as they gave the tasks, and it's like a co-work, and or they give you total freedom?
Well, it's no, more or less. I think we have a mutual respect, I hope, because we always said, even to the filmmakers, it's always your interpretation of the, the place, so to speak. But we, of course, with each year, we try to give more tools, or at least to understand, what's the meaning behind, the architects. So for even like for this year, there was quite, in a few cases, actually there was this kind of communication between the said architect and the filmmaker. So they discussed their ideas. Of course, I think we can talk about it with each team. So we have tried to strengthen those bonds, so to speak. But it's always tricky, as we know, because architecture exists in a different plane. It's to be used, to be walked, to lived in, and the film has a different, meaning, and only can grasp so much during this kind of short time. But I hope at least, of course, it will vary from project to project. But thus far, I think our collaboration has been fruitful, and we have been very happy with the results.
I see. Can we now continue with the first film, or how is the good way? Okay, so the first film that we see is by Sai Krishna Koppolu, and it's False Detective.
Ma olen terve elu üksindust otsinud. Või siis on üksindus otsinud mind.
Sina oled pimedus, mina olen valgus, sala pärast arelus, voolab minust valgus. Hetkel liine külma ilm mind varitseb. Nõnda minu meeli sa valitseb. Mina olen valgus, kuid tahan olla pimedus. Mina olen valgus, kuid võiksin olla pimedus. Siin oled pimedus, kuid tahad olla valgus. Siin ka kõik aknad sulgen ma, muidu hakkame kuu poole ulguma. Hakkame kuu poole ulguma. Mina olen valgus, kuid tahan olla pimedus. Mina olen valgus, kuid võiksin olla pimedus. Siin oled pimedus, kuid tahad olla valgus. Siin kõik aknad sulgen ma, muidu hakkame kuu poole ulguma. Hakkame kuu poole ulguma. Mina olen valgus, kuid tahan olla pimedus.
Me tuleme siia maailma üksinda. Elame ja sureme üksinda.
Pikast päevast väsinud.
Jah.
Millega sa tegeled? Vaatad inimesi?
Johan, puhkus.
Marta.
iga suhtlus on kokkupõrge. Iga kohtumine on konflikt. Igal jõul on võrdväärne ja vastastikune jõud. Ja igal õhtul on oma hommik.
Mm-hmm. So thank you for the film, and I have a plan now to ask first like general questions. I'm going to repeat them to every author, and then I have some specific questions about every single film. So this first general question to Sai Krishna is, out of this topic that you were supposed to follow, what is your main interest in filmmaking? Do you have any specific topics that you like, or any specific type of filmmaking, anything?
Interesting thing. Sorry, can you hear me? Yeah, I think characters are the most interesting thing, apart from taking a plot from A to B. I think this also was the goal with this film, in that sense, where, you know, it was primarily based on Tavi Elma's character. You know, it was how does he react in this kind of an exterior architectural space. That was, you know, the starting point of the film.
I see. Tell me about the choice of the location that you made. I know that you had other options too. Why you chose specifically this place?
Well, it's a tricky thing, because I was actually in Lisbon during the pre-production of the whole thing, because I was studying there in Lusofna University. And when the cinematographer, editor, and sound designer of the project, they invited me to work on it. So it was them who picked the location, and then I had to come up with something that kind of fits that space. And, you know, it was a back and forth process where, you know, we developed this idea in that sense.
I see. Describe your working method after the location was chosen. I mean, when you already started really the process. Do you work with references, or what is your way to work with new project?
Eventually, when I came to Tallinn and visited Tartu and Annelina Kirgi-Kluste, I wrote to the architect Terje Ong, and we had a back and forth dialogue. I asked her, you know, what this architecture represents for her, being the architect. And one of the essential things she said was, for her, it was a connection between the neighborhood of Annelina to the center of Tartu, near the, you know, so it is one singular recreational kind of external space which connects the whole neighborhood and the people to the center of Tartu. So, and that is how we kind of, I mean, I kind of wrote it in the sense of, you know, we start at Annelina and we kind of end at by the river, where, you know, this character is just following a bunch of people, and, you know, he interacts with them in his own unique way. And this is what the architecture is supposed to mean, where, you know, this is not a closed space where it's all about shapes or whatever. It's more about the people that bring the architecture alive. So
I see. So as a pre-work, you spoke with architects, and
yes.
This is how you
Yes.
prepared for the film. Yeah.
Yes.
I
Yes.
see. But would you describe the differences between this specific project and your previous experiences? What were the main difficulties, and what was the main difference?
This was the first project where I was actually invited by someone else to be part of a film. Every other film that I think I've been part of, it kind of came from, I was the initiator of the idea, or I was the initiator of, the process of the film. So in that sense, this was definitely different. I'm sorry, could you please repeat that question?
Yeah, what was the difference between this project and previous? And also, do you see the difference because of the topic you were supposed to follow?
Okay. It's really tricky for me to say, because this is not a conventional architecture space. Everyone kind of, when they see a piece of architecture, it kind of tends to be a building, or it kind of tends to be a park, but not something like this space, for example, because this is literally in the middle of a city. It has spots spread over, I don't know, a 2 or 3 kilometer range, and it's extremely unconventional in the sense. So it was a tricky thing to begin with, to work on something like this. But once we kind of agreed to do something based on a character, it kind of it gave us a bit of room to kind of play with, in terms of bringing in a small plot together, and not being a conventional architecture film, but more about a character driven film which happens in the architecture.
I see. And the last question is specifically about this split between this architecture and the character, because architecture, it's there, it's just still, but on the same time it's a topic for you, and then you have the character and the actor behind it, and you need to lead it, or you need to give the task. How did you share your attention or energy between this architecture and the actor, let's say?
The actor in question in this case is Taavi Elma, who Estonians know as a legend, or a very big actor. So we had previously met a year ago prior to this project, and he'd agreed to work with me on another project, but which didn't materialize. So when I got the opportunity for this project, I just wrote to him asking, would it be possible for you to be part of it? And when an actor of such experience and of gifted talent, in my opinion, comes on board, there is very little you really need to kind of explain, or it is he kind of embodied the character completely by himself, whereas I kind of just created these situations for him to react in. That was what I would kind of say, in that sense, it wasn't me directing Tavi really. It was just me not throwing things at him, but throwing situations at him for him to bring it to life. And I mean, it was an absolute pleasure working with Tavi, I must say.
I see. And now specifically about this project, I know from our previous conversation that you actually had a bit different scenario. Would you tell about it? What was this difference, and what were the reasons behind the change?
It was supposed to be a plot-driven film, in the sense of there were two main characters, Tavi and the character played by Tavi, and the character who appears right at the very end, played by Lisu Kras. But due to just the problems people have in filmmaking, where we couldn't find the Lisu until the evening before the shoot, and she was only available for 2 hours, and she had to travel 2 hours from Tallinn to Tartu to kind of make it to the project. So we could only shoot one scene with her. So in that sense, the plot was affected, I would say. I mean, I would say that plot-wise, we probably see, I guess, around 70 or 75% that kind of translated to the film. And in post-production, when we were kind of, we figured out that, okay, we can't get the plot out completely. That was where we made the change of decision to completely base it on Tavi's character, and which meant that we lost some other things, some other details. But at least you might have something that's more coherent in that sense rather than something half-baked.
I see. And I remember there was something about music too, the musician, right?
Yeah. So in the public spaces, when we had to do something in a public space, we were, normal kind of public are there, and it's pretty common to see people practicing exercise or people exercising and or people playing music just for their own, or even for playing for the people who are in this public space. So we kind of brought these normal people who we regularly find in these kind of spaces into the film, and made this one character kind of see everyone else's life in a way.
I see. Okay, do you have any other comments yourself, or?
I would say that's pretty much it. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So now we will continue with the next film, Naerumaa, and afterwards we'll explain or answer Pedro Vita, yeah? Thank you for the film. And I will continue again with these 5 questions that I had with previous film. And first was about the topic or task. What is your main interest out of this topic in filmmaking?
I'm very interested in feature film structures in the sense of like emotions, creating emotions for the spectators to really feel the film, and you know, well, you mentioned out of this film itself, but in this film, that's what I was looking for as well. You know, to create an emotion with the filmmaking techniques and the filmmaking tools that we have, in a way that I could, you know, affect someone by what we were showing. So the joining of all the fields that are needed to create a film, working for one purpose, which is to create an emotion on the spectator.
I see. Tell me about your choice when you were choosing the location. You had other options too, and you took this one. Why?
Yeah, I mean, Danilo is also here on the call. He can also like come whenever he wants. But just for briefly, basically, what happened was that we all went there. We all went to all these places to see what we would be more interested in shooting. And in this place specifically, when we went there, we started having ideas to do a film, because we felt very interested about this concept of having adults in a kindergarten, because it's not, I mean, unless you work there as an adult, or you're gonna get your kids there, like it's really rare that we come back to it. So for us, it was a bit of a new experience, you know, to come back to a kindergarten and realize like how small things are comparing to our size, and, you know, creating a story with this concept was you know, fairly easy for us, considering that the architecture of this place was really specific as well. So you know, it was an idea that came right away to our minds when we were there, me, the sound designer, and the cinematographer, and we just kept developing it, and, you know, in a way to create this atmospherical kind of nostalgia about childhood and adulthood.
Okay. And you were free to choose this place. Nobody else wanted to have it from your course, or how was it?
I think so. Well, there was more places than teams, definitely. So I think there wasn't a big discussion in that sense, from what I can remember. But yeah, I mean, we left that search for a spot or a location to film, knowing that we would like to shoot in that place. So I mean, we were right away kind of like almost decided that that's the place we want to shoot. So I don't think there was any discussion towards that. Yeah.
Okay. Would you describe your working method after the place was chosen and you started to make the film?
We since the beginning, we always worked in a very closed environment and with like not a lot of people. And me, like the group of 3, so me, the cinematographer and sound designer, we always work fairly together in a way to build this movie as, you know, as a group, and not, you know, it was not definitely not an individual idea. There was like there was brainstorming, and we kept developing the story with ideas from the 3, just in a way that we could make something that we all liked. And, you know, taking the director's job, it was up to me at some point to take it and, you know, make it also kind of my own way, but the team was very significant throughout the whole process, you know, before the shooting and writing the script. And you know, I owe those 2 guys as well a lot for this piece.
Okay. Where did you feel the main differences between your previous works, previous experiences? You were supposed to make the architecture film. What difficulties it gave?
Well, I never did an architectural film before, so for me it was a whole new world. What I had done before was I had done films which, you know, I created emotions, and you know that was something that I wanted to input in this film, and in that way, you know, it was a very interesting mix for me, and I guess I can speak for the team in the sense that you know, we were all coming from a filmmaking background and mostly fiction, you know, so to create an atmospherical architectural piece was a different concept for us, and you know, we had to work towards this. I can also speak about the experience on set, which was interesting for me because as a director, I also have a lot of interest in cinematography, and working with Danilo on this, we did a very, you know, closed environment and sharing ideas very closely and shooting together, which was a, you know, for me it was a win-win situation, and I guess for him as well, you know, in the sense of creating this architectural shots was it was joining of ideas from me and from him, which became something that I really enjoy to see now.
So you're going to make some more architecture films, yeah?
We never know. We can never say no, right? It certainly was something very interesting, and we're all very proud of the result of the film. So why not?
Okay. So although this main character was architecture, you still had there a character, an actor. You were supposed to give the task, yeah, to guide him. Was it difficult to split your attention between these two different type of?
Well, I think we did you know, we scheduled it in a way where we could focus once at the more architectural parts of the film, and the other the more, you know, story part of the film, in a way, because, you know, we took that as two separate blocks. So it was not hard at all. You know, there's you know, Melis came into the project, and he was, you know, pretty open for all our ideas. So it was, you know, and we had a small crew, and in that sense, you know, it just helped to have the small group of people working towards one purpose, and you know, just everything became smooth at that point.
Okay. I would ask also now, I know that your film's cameraman is also in our conversation. I would ask from him now, how was this camera work prepared? Did you, Tania, did you make some sketches? Did you work with references with I don't know, some architecture films as a references? Yeah. How did you prepare it?
Hi everyone. The whole process, I agree with pretty much everything that Pedro said. The whole experience was pretty much pretty well put together, since we visit every location possible to shoot with all the group, and I think every group felt from each location the stories, because I think nobody fight for the place to which building or place to shoot. So for us, this process, when we went inside of the place, we noticed right away the shares were really small and this kind of thing. So I think in terms of cinematography, the purpose was trying to create this contrast between the figure of an adult, of a worker man, like a serious person, in contrast with these small chairs, this small everything, like kind of this small war inside of this huge building that is this this school. So I think also we have some preparation classes before going into this location scouting. And that was pretty mind-opening, let's say, in order to have a better perspective of what architecture is. Since for me personally, as a cinematographer, architecture and cinematography has a lot to do. There's so many things in common, like in composition and the way that space is portrayed and how the space affect not only the way we inhabit, but also the way we feel inside of the places. So I think that for me, going inside of the place was right away like entering inside of a new world, and we play on that a lot. Like we try to make contrast about how an adult will feel inside of this small box, how an adult will look sitting on these chairs or watching his hand of this small place. So I think, yeah, that's pretty much the concept, like this contrast between childhood and adulthood, broadly speaking.
What about the light, the work with the light over there? You work with the natural daylight. Did you check also this lamps, how it would have been working with not natural light?
Yeah, the place is pretty well lit by natural sources. We have a nice sunny day that day, so my crew was mostly a gaffer and camera assistant. And yeah, with the gaffer, with Noah, I was trying to feel a little bit the shadows. Mostly it was a fairly simple setup with bounce light against a polyboard. So it wasn't that complex. And that was also what Pedro was saying, that the crew was fairly small, but pretty cohesive. So everybody was having a relaxed time on set. So we have enough time to set up each take and to compensate the difference of light. But the shooting went pretty smooth, and that's why I remember this process as such a joy, you know? Like the whole process since the beginning and the conception of the idea, the talking with the director, with the sound designer, Luca, everything went fairly small. And I think we found a common ground on our old childhood. I think we are kind of childish at some point, so that's funny. You know, it's like we were always lighthearted and playful with this. But in terms of lighting, was mostly natural lighting and some small compensation from interior.
Okay, and the last question, it's for both of you, or it's more even like a comment. I heard from Union of Estonian Architects that they actually gave you as an option not the building itself, but the garden. But either you misunderstood or you just chose this house itself. So actually, it's very nice that you chose the house itself because the story is very nice over there. And what was it behind it? Did you know that you were actually supposed to take the garden, or you misunderstood it?
Pedro?
So basically, it was a bit of a misunderstanding between the three parties that were involved. We presented the project as it is, as the film is, since the beginning, because this was what our interest was, and we thought the whole outside part was the architectural part, but it turns out it was just this small part behind it. Which was, a bit awkward in the end, but well, I guess at least the film is nice in that sense.
Sure. Okay, if you happen to have any comments, then I'm finished with questions. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're good as well. I mean, thank you a lot.
Thank you, and good luck with your film.
Thank you.
We will continue now with the film Ure, and afterwards, who's gonna answer the questions? Okay, okay, I see.
kõik, mis jääb maha meist, on lõputu kaja. õhkkõrn virvendus möödunu otsatus ookeanis. ammu killustunud mälestus, millest koorub ajaga rada. mis on täis võite ja kaotamist. kuula, mis öelda on varjudel? sest punktis, kus kohtuvad vana ja uus, ootavad valikut tegemist. teadmata, milliste otsuste virvendus kajab homme me tegude valimist. vaata, sest kuis muidu sa hiljem tead, millest koorusid praegu ja enne.
Thank you for the film. And I go again with my 5 questions, yeah? So again, this first was out of this topic and to ask, what is your main interest in filmmaking?
I guess I just like to tell stories. That's the very initial need, just to let stories out and visuals and sound, more or less what everyone said. But more visuals than sound for me, I guess. Like, that's how I that's how I experience the world around me, and that's how I think about it, and that's how I like to express it in film. So I guess I'm still discovering, but for now, it's all attempts for like honest self-expression and just carrying other people's stories and making them universal, or making like expressing some emotions on the screen. The power of doing this. Yeah.
And this location, how you chose it between the other options that you had?
I guess it was very straightforward. We knew our teams before we started scouting. Is that right? Yeah. And so me and I think Emery fell in love with the place. And for me, I like this kind of architecture, and I have an interest in architecture as well. So and I love how the light was hitting the place at the moment we were there, and I thought that would make a lot of nice imagery, but also the fact that this is a national archive, and it's just a place full of stories, of other people's stories, or of people who live in Estonia, and it kind of tells the story of the past, but also dictates the future in a way. And they say, like, if you want to know your future, you should study your past or know your past very well. So I think it was and it was a very obvious choice. We had a lot of things to play with. Like, we had the space and it's several floors, and the idea of memory and the history, and I think we just had to put something together, and yeah.
But you mentioned that you liked the light over there when you were scouting. But what was the time difference? I mean, before, like between scouting and actually filming, did you lose some of the light, or you were able to catch it the way you saw it first time?
I think it was just we had it, but also days were getting longer, so it was in our favor. But they say always scout the place in the time you will be shooting, but usually when you're using a location, you're using the whole day. But I realized later, because this location was on Tartu and we came from Tallinn, so I didn't get a chance to scout, to be there for enough time to understand that how much the light stays actually in that area and makes this specific effect I liked. But otherwise, we made another quick trip back to Tartu to take some filler shots with like some of my colleagues here. As Margarita, for example, she was driving, and Danilo was the first AC, and Pedro was second AC, and SK was helping as well. Everyone was helping. So we got it on 2 times, I guess. We had to.
I see. And would you describe this process of the filmmaking? How did you came out with the scenario, these characters you had, everything, the whole way how you tell this story about the building?
I think it was building along the way, and it kept building until the edit was actually done, cut somehow. Until we had a cut, we were still editing the voiceover. So it was the whole idea of we had this idea of making the kind of history come to life in the shape of these characters, of different shapes, different like looks and ages, and the idea kept developing. And then we made an edit, and we saw that it's not quite what we thought of, and then we tried to add the voiceover we thought of, and then a friend of ours, the writer, who helped us with it, and then it just, the elements kept getting together, but the whole idea was based on, if someone is stepping into history or at a specific point, what does it tell you about yourself and about the future? And we try to manifest that in visuals.
But the changes you mentioned that, for example, this adding voiceover, this decision came from your own team, or was it suggested from somebody else out of your team?
No, I think it was our decision. And actually, Harmo, the sound supervisor, he was a he didn't like the idea. He wanted to keep it more abstract and more, I think, artistic, or to say more with the sound without adding voiceover. But I guess we ended up, and this version of voiceover is a much simpler version than what we were intending. So we winged it. We ended up somewhere in between, I guess.
And the main uniqueness in this process for you, how this the fact that you were supposed to work with architecture, how it affected your filmmaking process?
How did it affect the filmmaking process? I think it gives a lot of freedom to work, and the main thing about this project was that everyone was bringing something from his side or her side, so it was just a big collaboration, and I felt that the building was was just cooperating with us and giving us what we needed to tell a story, even if it was an abstract one. But it was about what everyone brought in, and also we had a nice place to play with. So it's giving you something, not only architecture, not only walls and stairs, and yeah. If I got the question right, I don't know if you got it right.
Yeah, I got your point, yeah. But what about, you mentioned that you were supposed to shoot twice to capture the light. So you basically split your time between architecture and the characters you were using in the architecture. Would you describe this side? Was it difficult to split your time and attention between these two very different themes in a film? A stable building and actors who were supposed to be guided.
I guess first thing, I don't speak Russian or Estonian, and Emery was there and Margarita was there. She speaks Russian. Emery, obviously. And it made it a lot easier to deal with all the elements, and the fact that we were not trying, like, priority wasn't for just shooting the walls and the angles and the architecture. We were trying to focus more with the characters and to tell the story through that, or to achieve a nice balance. But we had to compromise, I guess, at a certain point. Like, we didn't know that we're gonna shoot for another day, for example. We just had to do it to compensate, or to actually to make it closer to what we thought it will be, because we shot quite a lot of footage of the characters that we ended up not using, because we realized it's not coherent with the whole idea afterwards, when we put the footage in a timeline and we start to see a cut.
Okay, but do we also have your editor over here. I'm really curious about these changes you made in edit.
Emery is not here. Yeah, but and we were kind of co-directing the whole film together, so it's more than just editing. She did much more.
But the main reason you decided to leave out some of the characters you actually shot, it was just you wanted to make it more tight, or what was the main reason?
Yeah, I guess we wanted to be more, like you said, more tight, more to the point, just to make it more simple. The idea, not to have so many distractions or try to push ideas and stuff it with ideas. Just have one simple idea and make it as minimal as it is, like the building, like the architecture, very minimal and very straight to the point. Slow camera movement, slow-mo most of the time. Because it has this slow pace that we were committing to, we didn't want to put so much just faces on the screen and adapt to that later. We just wanted to be simple and to the point, which for some people it is still slow to watch, but I think we liked it that way at the end.
So I would go now to a sound person.
Margo.
So Margo made the music.
Okay.
Margarita.
Okay. What was the, let's say, the goal with this sound, the music, when you started to create it?
First of all, I wasn't the sound designer of this short film. And hi, everybody. It was Johnny Farr who came up with the concept and who was doing the set recording and the post-production for the short film. So we were trying to go with this kind of stillness and, you know, roll with the punches. That was our main aim, and have fun with this story, because it's like, you know, it's like endless kind of onion. You unpeel it and unpeel it and unpeel it. And since it's a national archive, it's a lot about the history of all of us. So it was just fun of trying to make it as simple as possible, and meanwhile making it as complicated as possible.
What about this voiceover part? It was in Estonian. Was it like from the first beginning a decision to make it in Estonian, or were you thinking about using another, in English maybe then?
I'm not competent answering this question, because for this movie, I did 3 things. I was driving, I was acting, and they cut me out, I'm really grateful for that. And I did music, but I didn't take any of sound decisions in there. So basically I was the one who was sourcing, and then all the decisions in the end was done by Johnny Farr, who is the sound designer, and of course, Emre Abel and Saif Eldin Haled, who did the film together.
But as it's an archive, did you have any thoughts about using some Estonian music as a I don't know, some tiny piece, and then to play on with this idea, or you just decided to make it by yourself and from the scratches as a new thing?
For me, it was like, you know, using a sine wave for the as a base of this music, as there was a concrete used for that building, so it just had to be as simple as possible, as I told earlier. So, and also in this kind of their characters, they don't represent much of like any kind of ethnicity or any kind of, you know, they're not shapeless, but they're definitely not very significant. So this was the same approach that I had with music there.
Okay. So I think if you happen to have some comments yourself, then let me know. But otherwise, I would continue with the next. Okay. So A Song of Nature. Thank you for the film. I can share with you the comment from the architects who designed the house. It's Chaos Architected. I just happen to know them personally, and they said that actually the film conveys very precisely this feeling that they wanted to create as the architects. So yeah, it's it's precise. I would go again with this 5 questions that I asked from previous teams or previous directors, but I would change the order. Maybe it's more interesting in this way. I start from the last one. It's although it's an architecture film, you still had a person over there, a character. How did you share your attention between this working with this place, with the house, and with somebody who's supposed to be moving, doing something? Yeah.
So basically, we were trying to kind of portray through this person that is the pilgrim, since it's a pilgrimage house, the connection between the inside of the house and the surrounding of it. So so this interaction was happening between that person, which was the pilgrim, and in order to try to kind of make this modern house fit the surrounding, the environment, nature, and the history of the place, we used the pilgrim in order to kind of try to bring the elements of nature and interact with them outside and inside of the house. So that's how I tried to use the pilgrim, since it's a pilgrimage house, at the same time portray what we wanted to portray in the film.
Okay, so the character is like a tool to open the meaning of the house.
Yes,
I see.
exactly.
Okay. I remember you had very interesting understanding of the house, or like interesting view. I mean, you told me about your background, that you are used to visit or see holy buildings, but or like places like that. Would you tell about your background and connection between this choice of the house?
Yeah, basically in my hometown or in my country, these religious places are kind of old, and they are accredited basically on their history and how much they suffered and survived in the region where I live, which is Lebanon. And what surprised me there is that this pilgrimage house is kind of modern, and it's something very new for me to have a modern house that is used as a pilgrimage house for people to kind of meditate in it. And what impressed me is the way that it was built, and all the details inside of it that gave this whole vibe of like spirituality that will help the pilgrims to reach this peacefulness that they want to reach, basically.
Would you describe your working method after the place was chosen? Did you work with references? Did you make some, I don't know, sketches? Did you visit the place? How this process went?
So basically, we visited the place once again, the team, like the whole team, and we were trying, we tried to go with a certain structure that is not very well defined in what it will include. So we had like a general structure for the film, that it's going to be divided, let's say, into these chapters that follows the elements of nature. But then we tried, when we went to the location again, we tried to get inspired from everything we saw and tried to connect the outside and the inside in order to merge them later in editing. So we kind of gave a certain space for editing later, and also for the music and the sound design that was constructed later during the post-production. So it was kind of a general structure for the film that had a certain freedom for later for editing and for sound design to build this song of nature.
As you said, your background means that you have seen different type of pilgrimage places, but now I guess working with the architecture in the film, it's something new for you. What were the main difficulties in this process from this perspective?
Well, the difficulties were for us to try to kind of find like include the architecture in a smart way while trying to portray or convey the concept that we wanted to tell. And what we tried to go for was kind of some abstract images that that had architectural environment or mood in them, where everywhere you can see kind of the modern and the nature revolving around it. So that was, I would say, this difficulty to try to leave it as an architecture film, at the same time include this nature and this spirituality and the history of the place all in the same package.
So it's more like a comment than a question, but what I thought as a viewer was that this place, it's not, let's say, I mean, people supposed to go there after a long holy walking road. So it's like this is the goal, this is the place to rest, to calm down after you have done a long walk. Didn't you want to include this or like give some hints that people end up in this building? They don't, yeah, this is like the resting place, and to give some hints that before that they walk.
Well, I think for us it was very clear that we didn't want to go to any religious idea when we were doing the film, because it's kind of maybe specific to a certain religion, this pilgrimage thing, and we didn't want to portray that. So we tried to avoid this and talk about the spirituality of the place and how much you can have peacefulness and rest and everything you can do while like after this pilgrim, but at the same time not to include the walking or the whole religious process, I would say, that happens before that. So we tried to stay in the place as is, and people who knows about the place are kind of aware maybe that it happens that they walk and they will reach there.
Okay. So who else we have from your team? We have
both the sound designer and music composer, Margarita, and we have Lawrence, the editor and assistant director.
Let's go maybe with the editor first. It's my main interest always, what were the other options, the possible ways how this film could have been edited? Did you exclude some parts? Did you make big changes from the first plan?
Well, guys, yeah, nice to meet you guys again. Yeah. So the initial idea we had was to show how building from what Julian has said, how the spirituality affects the place and how the surrounding interact with the inside of the building, considering that it's a sacred place. So what we did was to shoot each other sector all together. But during editing, we had some challenges, yes, because we are trying to match and proportionately divide each sector so that we don't emphasize on one side more than the other. And that's affected the pace of the film. So we chose to have like a very calm and then a slow pace, just to reveal the serenity and tranquility of the house, the building, to show that it's a very sacred and a very spiritual place for people to go.
I missed that point. Did you also go to the place yourself, or you only work with the footage?
Yes, I was also there. We went there together and we all decided
He was also assistant director during the shoot.
Okay. So I think I would go now with sound designer. What about you, this concept you had behind the
I mean, we were developing
music?
this concept all together, and it was the fun part of it, because we kind of agreed from the very beginning that the story is not about any specific religion, but it's about being like just spiritual, and what unites all religions probably is nature. That's how it all came to the Sound of Nature, and that's how we're moving from one place to another over there, bringing all the elements from outside to the inside and the opposite way. And it was a very interesting journey and very challenging space to work in, but also it was so much fun. I think it's one of my favorite projects that I worked in this program on. And even after we finished it, I was experimenting with the sound, and I did a kind of like 3D audio mix of this soundtrack, and I think it represents the place even better.
Okay. Can I also say something that the process for Margot especially was, I think, way harder maybe than anyone else, because like constructing this music for something that like without reference, you know, that was a big challenge, and I think like she made the film look way much better with her music and her beautiful touch.
Thank you so much.
So I think I'm now done with all the questions. I want to thank everybody. And another thing I would add, maybe, I had a conversation with one of Estonian film critics last Christmas, and she said that she thinks that every film should say everything that is wanted to be said, and there is no other comments needed, because mostly we don't have a chance to interview authors or ask like some side stories or like explanations. But I think like as a filmmaker myself, that there's so much that we go through while we make the film. So I think it's so nice to hear these stories and to share these stories. So thank you, everybody.
Thanks a lot for everything.
Thank you.
The fade out was so dramatic.
Mm.
Yeah.
but it's still recording.
Why is it recording?
No, I think that's just